The sinking feeling in my gut intensified as I overheard Calvin's boisterous voice mocking me from across the community center. Gathered with his group of snickering friends, he proclaimed, "Can you believe Meredith showed up here? She probably had to beg for donations to afford that outfit." A demeaning chuckle escaped his lips as he tightened his arm around Clara, his much younger girlfriend adorned in designer labels. My cheeks burned with humiliation. After everything Calvin had put me through during our divorce, I thought I had grown numb to his cruelty. But hearing him belittle my modest lifestyle while flaunting his newfound wealth stung like a fresh wound. As he droned on about his latest luxury purchase, something inside me snapped. I refused to be the punchline of his self-aggrandizing jokes any longer. Years of swallowing my pride, sacrificing my dreams to support his ambitions, and enduring his dismissive treatment had taken their toll. But not anymore. In that moment, I made a silent vow to reclaim my dignity and self-worth, no matter the cost. Catching sight of my daughter, Elsie, across the room, I straightened my posture and held my head high. Her unwavering belief in me had been the driving force behind my resilience, and I would not let her down. With a renewed sense of determination, I turned my back on Calvin's disparaging remarks and immersed myself in conversation with colleagues from the nonprofit where I now worked. As the event drew to a close, I couldn't help but steal one final glance at Calvin, basking in the admiration of his shallow circle. A bitter realization washed over me. His arrogance and disregard for those he deemed beneath him had only grown more pronounced with his newfound status. But I refused to let his disdain define me any longer. It was time to rewrite my narrative, one of strength, perseverance, and ultimately sweet retribution. As I lay awake that night, memories of my marriage's disintegration flooded my mind. Calvin and I had been inseparable when we first met, two young professionals brimming with ambition and deeply in love. We supported each other through the early struggles, and I beamed with pride as Calvin climbed the corporate ranks. However, with his success came an insidious shift. The man I had fallen for gradually morphed into someone unrecognizable, consumed by greed and an inflated ego. "Meredith, we need to start mingling with the right crowd," he would declare, criticizing my modest wardrobe and our modest lifestyle. One fateful evening, I discovered the truth behind his newfound obsession with appearances, a litany of flirtatious texts from a young intern named Clara. Confronting him, his cruel words cut deeper than any infidelity. "Don't act so surprised," he sneered. "You really thought I'd stay satisfied with your small-town dreams forever?" Divorcing Calvin was a brutal process, made worse by his team of ruthless lawyers. "You'll get what you're owed, and not a penny more," he snarled during our final meeting, his eyes devoid of any remnant of the man I had once loved. True to his word, Calvin's legal maneuverings ensured I received only a meager settlement, leaving me to rebuild my life from scratch. But I refused to wallow in despair. For the sake of my daughter Elsie, I poured my energy into stability, working double shifts at the nonprofit, enrolling in night classes to further my education. Whenever doubt crept in, I'd scroll through Calvin's ostentatious social media posts, his smug grin mocking me from behind his displays of excessive wealth. One day, I vowed, clenching my fists, he'll realize just how wrong he was to underestimate me. The years following my divorce were a whirlwind of sacrifice and determination. Every penny I earned went towards providing a stable home for Elsie and covering the costs of my night classes in business management. While Calvin flaunted his lavish lifestyle on social media, I found solace in the small victories. Elsie's beaming smile when I attended her school plays, the pride of earning a promotion at the nonprofit. "Mom, why can't we have nice things like Dad and Clara?" Elsie asked one evening, scrolling through Clara's Instagram feed depicting their extravagant vacations. Pulling her close, I brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Those nice things mean nothing compared to the love and values we share, sweetheart. Your father has chosen a path focused on material wealth, but our journey is about building a life with substance." Elsie nodded, her eyes shining with a wisdom beyond her years. "I know, Mom. I'm proud of you for working so hard for us." Her words fueled my determination to create a better future for us both. Each night after tucking Elsie into bed, I diligently pored over my textbooks, honing the business acumen that would one day level the playing field with Calvin. My dedication paid off when I earned a coveted promotion at the nonprofit leading community outreach initiatives that earned local acclaim. It was during one of these events that I caught the eye of Vincent, a self-made business magnate known for his philanthropic endeavors. "I'm impressed by your passion and organizational skills, Meredith," he remarked, shaking my hand with a warm smile. "Would you be interested in consulting on some of my upcoming projects?" I accepted without hesitation, relishing the opportunity to expand my horizons. Little did I know, this chance encounter would reshape my destiny in ways I never could have imagined. Working with Vincent was a breath of fresh air after years of struggling alone. His mentorship and faith in my abilities reignited a spark within me that I thought had long been extinguished. With each successful project we collaborated on, my confidence soared, and I found myself embracing new challenges with vigor. "Meredith, you have a natural talent for identifying untapped potential and maximizing resources," Vincent praised during one of our strategy sessions. "I'd like to offer you a more permanent role overseeing our community outreach initiatives." I accepted without hesitation, energized by the prospect of making a lasting impact on the lives of those in need. Elsie, now a bright-eyed teenager, beamed with pride as I shared the news. "I always knew you were destined for great things, Mom," she exclaimed, pulling me into a tight embrace. As my professional life flourished, so too did my personal bond with Vincent. His kindness and unwavering support filled a void I hadn't realized existed, that of a positive father figure in Elsie's life. Whenever Calvin's name was mentioned, Vincent would shake his head in disappointment, reassuring me that true success extended far beyond material wealth. "Your ex-husband is a shallow man, consumed by greed and status," he remarked one evening as we discussed potential charity initiatives. "But you, Meredith, you possess a rare combination of compassion and determination that will leave a lasting legacy." Elsie, who had once idolized her father's affluent lifestyle, now found herself drawn to Vincent's principled guidance. I'll never forget the day she timidly approached him after one of our community events. "Mr. Vincent, would it be okay if I called you Dad? My real dad is never around, and you've been more of a father to me than he ever was." The look of pure joy on Vincent's face said it all. As he embraced Elsie, I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for the remarkable turnaround my life had taken. From a struggling single mother to a respected leader, with a newfound family unit built on shared values, not hollow possessions. As my bond with Vincent deepened, I remained oblivious to the fact that he was a business rival of Calvin's. Our connection transcended the corporate world, built on a shared passion for uplifting our community and providing guidance to Elsie. It wasn't until a chance encounter at a high-profile charity gala that the truth came to light. Calvin, ever the social climber, had secured a table in a desperate bid to maintain his public image of success. As I mingled with donors, his eyes followed me with a mixture of disdain and envy. Well, if it isn't Meredith trying to play philanthropist," he sneered as I approached his table. "I see you found yourself a new sugar daddy to bankroll your delusions of grandeur." Before I could respond, Vincent appeared by my side, his presence commanding respect. "Calvin, always a pleasure to cross paths with such an esteemed business leader," he remarked, his tone laced with sarcasm. Calvin's face flushed as realization dawned upon him. "You? Working with my wife's charity case? Don't tell me you've fallen for her pity story, too." Vincent chuckled, unfazed by Calvin's bravado. "Meredith is a remarkable woman whose talents you clearly failed to appreciate. But I suppose that's to be expected from someone more concerned with lining his pockets than fostering meaningful change." As the crowd around us fell silent and sputtered, grasping for a retort. In that moment, I realized that Vincent's involvement in my life went beyond mere mentorship. He was delivering a calculated blow to his rival's ego. Later that evening, as we shared a celebratory glass of wine, Vincent's expression turned somber. "Meredith, I owe you an explanation. Calvin and I have been business adversaries for years, each vying for dominance in our respective sectors. When I met you, I saw a kindred spirit, someone with integrity and vision, qualities that my former friend sacrificed in his pursuit of greed." I placed my hand on his, offering a reassuring squeeze. "Vincent, your history with Calvin changes nothing. You've been a guiding light for me and Elsie, and for that, I'll be forever grateful." As our eyes met, I saw not just a mentor or a father figure, but a partner, someone who shared my values and respected my strength. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we would face them together, leaving Calvin's pettiness firmly in the past where it belonged. The annual charity gala was always a highlight for me, a chance to showcase the impact of our community initiatives. But this year it held an added significance, an opportunity to cement my newfound success and partnership with Vincent in front of Calvin's judgmental gaze. As guests mingled and cameras flashed, I couldn't help but notice Calvin's transparent attempts to garner attention. He strutted about, Clara draped on his arm like a trophy, loudly boasting about his latest business ventures to anyone within earshot. When Vincent took the stage to address the crowd, a hush fell over the room. "Tonight we celebrate the tireless efforts of those who have dedicated themselves to uplifting our community," he began, his commanding presence commanding respect. "None more so than Meredith, whose vision and leadership have been instrumental in our success." I felt Calvin's eyes boring into me as Vincent continued, "Which is why I'm honored to announce the Vincent Enterprises Foundation's commitment to fund Meredith's initiatives for the next 5 years, ensuring her remarkable work can continue to flourish." A thunderous applause erupted, but it was Calvin's reaction that caught my attention. His face contorted with barely contained fury as he realized he had been thoroughly upstaged. Outmaneuvered by his business rival while forced to watch his ex-wife bask in well-deserved acclaim. Later, as the event wound down, Calvin stormed over, his eyes wild with rage. "You just couldn't resist rubbing my nose in it, could you?" he spat, jabbing a finger in my face, using Vincent to humiliate me in front of everyone. I calmly brushed his hand aside. "This has nothing to do with you, Calvin. Vincent believes in my work, and his support is a testament to my abilities, not some petty attempt at revenge against you." "Don't play dumb with me," he snarled. "You two have been scheming behind my back this whole time, trying to undermine me." Vincent's voice rang out, stern but composed. "Enough, Calvin. Your bruised ego is clouding your judgment. Meredith's success is her own, owing nothing to our professional rivalry. Perhaps if you spent less time chasing status symbols and more time cultivating genuine talent, you wouldn't feel so threatened." With that, Vincent placed a reassuring arm around my shoulders, and we turned our backs on Calvin's seething form. As we walked away, I couldn't help but savor the delicious irony. Calvin's own obsession with wealth and power had rendered him blind to the true source of lasting fulfillment. In the days following the gala, Calvin's erratic behavior only escalated. He bombarded me with accusations, insisting that I had conspired with Vincent to sabotage his reputation and career. No matter how many times I refuted his claims, he remained convinced of some grand scheme to undermine him. "You're delusional if you think I care enough about your inflated ego to plot against you," I told him during one particularly heated exchange. "My success has nothing to do with you. It's the result of hard work and perseverance, qualities you sacrificed long ago." His eyes narrowed, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the man I had once loved, now twisted by bitterness and envy. "Don't act so high and mighty," he spat. "We both know you're just using Vincent to get back at me for leaving you." I let out a mirthless laugh. "You give yourself too much credit, Calvin. Vincent believes in me because he recognizes my potential, something you were too blinded by greed to ever appreciate." As if on cue, Vincent arrived, his presence instantly diffusing the tension. "Is everything all right?" he asked, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. Calvin recoiled as if burned. "Of course, playing the doting partner to sell your little charade," he sneered. "But I see right through you both." Vincent regarded him with a mixture of pity and disappointment. "Calvin, your obsession with petty vendettas is unbecoming of a man in your position. If you channeled even a fraction of this energy into ethical business practices, perhaps you wouldn't feel so threatened by Meredith's well-deserved success." For a moment, Calvin seemed to deflate, his bravado crumbling under the weight of Vincent's words. But the moment passed, and he quickly regained his combative stance. "Just you wait," he hissed. "I'll make you both regret the day you crossed me." With that, he stormed off, leaving me to wonder just how far his vindictive obsession would go. Vincent, ever the voice of reason, pulled me close. Don't let his empty threats trouble you, Meredith. We've done nothing wrong. It's his own actions that will be his undoing, not ours. As I leaned into Vincent's embrace, I couldn't help but feel a sense of newfound strength. Calvin's desperate attempts to undermine me only served to highlight how far I had come, rising above his pettiness and forging a life built on integrity and purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head-on, secure in the knowledge that true success could never be tarnished by the jealous machinations of a man blinded by his own greed. In the months that followed, Calvin's obsession with sabotaging me consumed his every waking moment. Blinded by rage and jealousy, he made one disastrous business decision after another, squandering resources and alienating key partners in a desperate bid to undermine Vincent's initiatives. He's becoming unhinged, Vincent confided in me one evening, weary from yet another meeting dominated by Calvin's outbursts. His fixation on retaliating against us is causing him to neglect his core operations. I shook my head in disbelief. I never imagined he would let his bruised ego jeopardize everything he's built. True to Vincent's words, it wasn't long before the consequences of Calvin's recklessness caught up with him. Rumors of unethical practices and financial mismanagement began to swirl, eroding the once pristine reputation he had so desperately clung to. The final straw came when a damning exposé revealed Calvin's involvement in a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme, a desperate gambit to raise funds for his personal vendettas. As the scandal unfolded, I couldn't help but feel a perverse sense of vindication watching his carefully constructed facade crumble before his eyes. Well, look who's fallen from grace, I remarked coolly when Calvin showed up unannounced at my office, his tailored suit rumpled and his eyes haunted. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand, silencing him. Save your excuses, Calvin. This is entirely of your own making, the karmic price you've paid for sacrificing integrity on the altar of greed and vanity. For a moment, it seemed as though he might argue, his ego refusing to accept defeat. But then his shoulders sagged, and he simply nodded, the fight finally extinguished from his eyes. Later that evening, as I basked in the warmth of Elsie and Vincent's loving embrace, I allowed myself a small, contented smile. The road ahead was sure to bring new challenges, but I faced them secure in the knowledge that true success was measured not by material wealth, but by the strength of one's character and the positive impact left on the world. And in that regard, I had emerged the victor, a truth that would forever haunt the hollow shell of a man Calvin had become.